All right, it's always great to have my next guest on the show. Cody Brundage is back in action on July the 9th at UFC Vegas 58 when he meets Tresean Gore. Cody, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Always good chatting it up with you.
Yes, sir, man. I'm excited to see you back in there again, especially after that big win your last time out, which was all the way back in March now. So I just want to start there and, ask what life has been like for you since.
More of the same. I think I took like a week off, but I was right back in the gym. I feel like I'm never gonna be upset at a win. I hate when people get on there like, man, it just wasn't like I'm pumped I won, right? And I got a bonus. It was awesome, but I still don't feel like it was a great performance. I don't feel like I really put it all together, and I'm just waiting, man. If I can put it all together in there, it's going to be something really special. I'm going to surprise a lot of people, and that's what I'm looking to do in July. So we'll see how it goes. But I've just been working really hard to kind of get that performance I've been searching for.
Has that kind of maybe added a chip on your shoulder in camp to really go out there and just show an even better version of yourself this next time out?
Yeah, definitely. You're not supposed to look at the social media and stuff, but I see what people are saying. Like, oh, he got lucky. Dolce would have won that fight. He just made a bad mistake. Like all this kind of stuff, and I feel like it discredits a lot of what I'm doing. So, and rightfully so. Like I said, it wasn't a great performance. I could see how people would think that. So I got to just go prove to them that I'm an elite level fighter. And if I put it together, man, it's going to be something really, really special. And I've been working hard to do that. So, hopefully the fruits of my labor will be seen in July.
Well, I definitely want to dive into camp here at Factory X and all that, and this matchup with Tresean in a minute. But I wanted to ask you, first off too about your daughter. And I never really know, talking with athletes like yourself, about how much they want to get into the personal side of things. But I know that's been a struggle for you and your family. So I mean, I just wanted to make sure that everything was going good. Is there any updates that you care to share? And is that something that you even like talking about?
I do like talking about it because I feel like people sometimes see athletes or professional athletes at the highest level, and they're like, man, everything that they have is perfect and what I would do for that life. And I do love my life, man. I think I feel like I'm super blessed. I feel like I live a really awesome life. But there is struggling, man. Everybody struggles. And I feel like for people out there that are struggling, I feel like it's good for them to see someone that is at the highest level of their sport or is in a position where maybe people don't expect them to struggle, to see that, oh, he's struggling, he's overcoming it, I can do it as well. Because I know if I was in that position, I would like to see that and have people talk about that and just have someone to relate to a little bit. So I don't mind talking about it at all. My daughter's still working really hard. She has therapies, whether it's physical therapy, she has an OT, she has speech therapy, she now has vision therapy. And she works really hard. Like I always joke, like I'm grinding, I'm in camp, but my daughter's always in camp too, right? Like she has therapies, three different therapies, probably 4 or 5 times a week. And my wife and her work extremely hard to try to keep her as close to up to speed as possible. Obviously, she has delays with her mutation, but we're trying our best to try to really minimize those. And, right after my fight, we got her started on the ketogenic diet, which to kind of slow seizures and prevent them. And we just got her EEG results back this week, actually. And so the hyperrhythmia, that's like the background noise in her brain. It's on a scale from 1 to 5. All the way up to this point, it's been a 5, which is the worst. But at this point, she's at a 4. So we're positive, she's bringing it down. And we're going to try some different things to try to bring her down to a 3 and just keep trying to progress towards a goal. I feel like me and my wife, both being professional athletes, we're very goal oriented. And if you tell me like, this is what you got to do to reach this point, we've been doing that our whole lives. So I feel very comfortable doing that. And, I'm pumped, and that might sound weird because obviously it's a tough situation, but I just see improvements and I know she's working really hard. And I just believe with all my heart that we got the right people around us and the right things around us to give her the best shot at the best life possible.
Well, as I've told you before, man, nothing but well wishes and thoughts and prayers to you and your whole family. I sure hope that things continue to get better there. And I appreciate you diving in and talking about that a little bit. I know your boy Colin Anglin has a fight. Is it tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight, man. Yeah. So I'm super excited for him. He's been making huge strides in the gym. Got this fight on short notice, but I mean, he's been training, he's always in the gym. And yeah, I'm excited. I love watching Colin fight. If people ever ask me who my favorite fighter are, I say my wife, obviously, and then Colin Anglin. Those are my 2 favorite fighters. I thought Dustin Jacoby in there too, but yeah, I just love watching my teammates fight, man. And for him to come back, I've seen so many people things didn't go the way he wanted in the UFC, obviously. And, he got cut, and I've seen a lot of people that breaks them and then they're done fighting and they go move on with their life. But he really loves the sport and he's excited to get back in there and he's been putting in the work. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, you just answered my next question, because a lot of fighters, when they do get released from the UFC, mentally it destroys them. So he's still in positive spirits.
Oh, for sure. I think I believe that he's going to be back. I feel like he'll get re-signed. I feel like at the time, maybe he just kind of felt the pressure of being there. And I feel like being there and coming back is a different thing, right? Being on the regional scene, trying to get the UFC is one thing. And then once you get cut, trying to get back is a completely different thing. But yeah, I have all the faith in the world that the work he's been putting in and the time he's been dedicating to the sport is going to lead to him being back in the UFC, and we're going to see something special. Factory X is a cool gym because we have a lot of guys that got cut, and then now you look at the things like Dustin Jacoby went 0-2, and look what he's doing now, top 15 in the world. He's on a 6-fight win streak. Anthony Smith got cut multiple times, and now he's right on the brink of fighting for a world title potentially. So I think there's a lot of inspiration if you look around the gym, and I think Colin's definitely feeling that. I know I feel it. So yeah, I'm just really excited to watch my buddy fight. I'm in his corner. I'm lucky I get to be a part of that journey, and he's going to get the job done tonight, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I always love talking to Colin. Hopefully he does make that transition back into the big show soon. It all starts with the big fight tonight. I got to ask you about DJ, another guy that I love talking to. He's got a tough opponent, Da Un Jung, July 16th. How do you like that matchup for Dustin?
I like any matchup with any striker in the division for Dustin. I think he's super athletic. And the thing about Dustin is he continues to get better, man. Like his grappling is super underrated. People forget that he took time off from MMA. He wasn't grappling for 6-7 years. He was fighting Glory Kickboxing, and his kickboxing is amazing, but he still has so much room to grow as an MMA fighter. And that's kind of a scary prospect. If you look at the things he's been doing, he's going to continue to get better as a vet, which is cool to see. And I feel very fortunate. My last fight, he fought the week before me. I went out and cornered him, and then he came in and cornered me for my fight. We were in camp together grinding, and same thing this time, except for just roles reverse. I'm going to be the week before him, and having a guy like that around is huge for my fight game, but just in life in general, man, having a guy like that to kind of lean on in tough times, and a guy who's kind of seen it and been through it all. And, the cool thing about DJ is always a positive light, right? Like I've never gone to him, been like, man, I've never gone to him and him be like, man, I'm struggling today. I can't, he's always got a ear to lend to me, and he's always got good advice, and he's always finding a way to bring my spirits up. So I'm very happy I have that guy in my life, and I like the matchup. I think he's going to handle business and continue his rise through the ranks.
Have you got out on the links with him at all this summer?
No, not yet. I gotta up my game before I get out there.
I know it's probably a long shot, but I'm hosting a tournament. It's in honor of my father. We lost him to cancer in 2018, and we raised a bunch of money to fight cancer, and we do it in my hometown of Bangor, Maine. And I mentioned it to him because it's the end of July. It's July 29th this year, and he was thinking about maybe coming, but I know it's quite a long flight from where you guys are in Colorado. But that would be so cool to see him, and maybe bring a couple guys like you and someone else from the gym out here to golf for a good cause. Maybe one day.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm down for that. My whole family, or my mom's side of the family, is all in Vermont, so I'll just turn it into a whole trip.
Perfect. Yeah, my golf game is awful, but I'm doing my best to change that.
I'm right there with you, brother.
It's a tough game. Now, I wanted to ask you too, real quick. Your former opponent, Nick Maximoff, I feel like you guys gained a lot of respect for one another after that fight, and he just lost for the first time to Andre Petrosky. And I interviewed Petrosky before the fight, and he was borderline disrespectful, just saying that he's just going to run right through him and finish him early, which is actually what he did. And I think a lot of people were surprised by that outcome. Were you surprised by it? And what was your just takeaway from that?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I think Nick just kind of got caught up in the moment a little bit. I think he's a better fighter than what he showed, but props to Andre for finding that finish. I've trained with Andre before. He's come to Factory X, and he did a whole fight camp out here. I would love that fight, if I'm being honest. I'm not going to overlook Tresean, but I would love to fight Andre. And yeah, I thought it was a little bit disrespectful, but hey, man, maybe that's what he had to do to get himself up for the fight. Andre's never really been that disrespectful before, I don't think, to any of his opponents. And, he's just a Philly guy. Like, he's a Philly guy to his core. That's kind of the way he is. I know after the fight, he kind of gave him props. He's like, he's going to be okay. He'll figure it out. So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, I would like that fight with Andre. just having trained with him. And I feel like we have a pretty similar style. You know, we both try to be the bully. We both have that wrestling pedigree. But yeah, I was surprised by the outcome. You know, I thought Andre would have a lot of success early, just because that's the fighter he is. You know, he comes out super hard and aggressive, and he has power and he has good submissions. But as the fight wears on, you know, he has his gas tank isn't all that. And I feel like Nick has a really good gas tank. You know, that's just his style of fight. He's going to grind on you and wrestle you for 15 minutes if he can. And he makes no apologies for it, you know. So I thought that Andre would have success, maybe win the first round, but then kind of fall apart. And he proved me wrong, shut me up, got the first round finish. You know, good for him.
Man, the middleweight division right now is deep, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of young talent, like a lot. Like I feel like in terms like where I'm at my career, I feel like in the rankings maybe it's a little top heavy, you know, but I feel like when you look outside the top 15, there's a ton of guys who are young up and comers, blue chip prospects that are going to kind of weed each other out a little bit. And then in like the next 2 or 3 years, middleweight's going to be a really, really, really competitive division, which is cool. I mean, it's tough because I'm part of that young group, you know, so it's not like I'm getting easy fights. I'm not fighting top 15 guys, but I'm fighting everyone I fight. I feel like has the potential to be a top 15 in the future, you know? So it's cool to be in a division that's on the come up a little bit. But at the same time, you know, obviously it's tough.
Give me your title pick. Adesanya, Cannonier. It's right around the corner. Who wins and how did they get it done?
I like Adesanya. I just feel like he's too tactical. He's a super smart fighter. I feel like, you know, Cannonier's good, but it's that same thing. Like everyone's going to say, if he catches him, you know, that's what the storyline is going to be. And how many times in fights with elite level fighters does that play out? You know, they call it a puncher's chance for a reason. Not that he doesn't have a chance. Obviously, you know, if you got power like that, you got a shot. But I just think Adesanya has been kickboxing the best kickboxers in the world. Cannonier is not going to show him anything he hasn't seen before. I think it could be a very boring fight, almost like a Yoel Romero style fight. But I think Adesanya gets it done. I think it's going to take a really, really, really special grappler to beat Adesanya, just because he's the best in the world on his feet. And I even say that with Pereira. I know Pereira beat him in kickboxing. And everyone's saying like, well, if they fight, there's going to be a repeat. But MMA striking is just so different, you know, and you've seen that. Like, if you go back and watch Adesanya's fights on his way to a title rise, it's unbelievable. You know, go watch his fight with Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares is an absolute killer. And, you know, he made him look silly because he has a kickboxing style that translates to MMA. I'm not saying Pereira doesn't translate, right? But he's faced more adversity than Adesanya did because his style is so different in terms of his kickboxing. So I think it's going to take a really special grappler to beat Izzy. The blueprint's there. You watched Jan do it. You know, obviously that was up a weight class, but that's the blueprint to beat Izzy. I think if you go into his game, you're not going to win. And I don't think Cannonier has the ability to out wrestle him.
I think the best middleweight that we've seen since Anderson Silva, I think it has to be Israel Adesanya. So who wins in their prime? Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya.
Oh man, that would be such an awesome fight, wouldn't it? I'm gonna go Anderson. He's the GOAT of the division. He did things that like we've never seen before. And even when they fought out of their prime, you know, I mean, obviously Izzy beat him, but it wasn't a super uncompetitive fight. It was a pretty competitive fight. So you take 10 years off Anderson, I feel like it's a really good fight. I'll tell you who I think the dark horse in the division is, though, because I think, and people are gonna laugh and be like, this is a terrible take. But if Luke Rockhold gets his chin back, he's a really tough matchup for Adesanya because he's big and he might have the best top control in the division. So if he can get him taken down, I don't see Adesanya getting out. You know, I know he's had struggles as of late, but if Luke Rockhold can get back to form the way he was, I think he could be the dark horse in the division for sure.
I don't think that's a bad take at all. I think you might be onto something right there. And I always go back to Bobby Knuckles. I'm a big Robert Whitaker fan. That second fight with Izzy was so close. I don't know. It could have gone either way, but I'll digress. Yeah. Let's dive into your fight with Tresean, man. Again, UFC Vegas 58, July the 9th, Tresean Gore. I mean, this guy has got a lot of power. His last fight with Brian Battle, he was just winging some shots, and it just seemed like if it was an inch here, an inch there, it could have been lights out. But Bryan Battle ends up handing Tresean the first loss of his career right now. And, you know, do you feel like this matchup stylistically is just something that is going to benefit you, because your style seems like the perfect recipe, in my opinion, to maybe give him trouble?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think I don't want to trash anybody that he's fought, but I feel like he's never fought anyone that he respects their power or respects the fact that they can hurt him. You know, Brian's a great fighter. I fought Brian. Brian beat me. Like, hats off to him. But I don't think anyone looks at Bryan Battle and is like, that guy's a power puncher. You know, no one's worried that he's going to put you out. So it's easy to be the bully and come forward against guys that, one, you don't think can hurt you on the feet, and two, that you don't think can out wrestle you. And he hasn't fought any real wrestlers, and he hasn't fought anybody that he's worried about their power. I feel like I bring both those things to the table. I feel like I have one-shot knockout power as well as a high wrestling pedigree, and I have a good motor. You know, like, I can push a hard pace. I think everyone's like, do you think Tresean's going to throw way more volume this fight because he lost last fight because he didn't have volume? And I don't, because I think he's worried about getting tired, and that's why he doesn't throw crazy volume. If you go back and watch his fight, the semifinals on Tough, he dropped Urbina probably 3 or 4 times, and he never went for the finish because I feel like he's worried that if he doesn't get the finish, he's going to gas out and be in trouble, you know. And that's a tough spot to be in with me, because I feel like one of the best qualities I have is my cardio. You know, I feel like I can push a hard pace. I feel like I showed my last fight, I can take power. You know, I can take a beating and come back and still be able to be in the fight. But yeah, I feel like I'm a tough matchup for him. If I look at it on paper, like, whenever my coach sends me the matchup, it's kind of similar to my last fight. You know, they sent me the matchup and I was like, okay, how do I lose this fight? I get caught and knocked out. That's definitely a possibility, right? In fighting, that's a possibility. How do I win? I'm like, well, I can knock him out. I can win a decision. I can submit him. I can literally win any way. And the only way they're going to beat me is catch me and knock me out. I love the matchup. I'll take it. And that's pretty much how I felt when I fought Dalcha. That's how I feel about the Tresean matchup. You know, obviously he's got the power. He can hurt anybody, but if that's all you're bringing to the table, you know, we're in the most elite level, and I feel like I'll take those odds.
Yeah. And you're also stepping in to replace your teammate, Josh Fremd, right? So you guys have already been preparing for Tresean. Do you feel like that gives your team and Coach Mark Montoya even more of an advantage, because you've been getting ready for this guy even longer than when you were matched up?
Yeah, you know, and I feel like I kept an eye on all of the tough guys, you know, because I just, like I said, 85 is a young division with a lot of up and comers, and they're going to try to match those guys. It just makes sense. So I know that, like, any of those guys is a potential fight, you know? So yeah, I've been preparing for him. I don't know if it gives me more of an advantage, you know, because honestly, at this point, I don't think Tresean, I mean, it's tough for Tresean because he's like, I'm preparing for a 6'4", 77-inch striker kickboxer who's going to stand and trade with me for 15 minutes. And now I'm fighting this fire hydrant of a wrestler. You know, it's a different look for sure. But I mean, he's had plenty of time to get ready. It's not like it's a week's notice or anything. And, you know, but when Josh got the fight, I remember saying, like, man, I really like that matchup. I think it's a good fight. You know, anytime you can find someone with less experience than you in the UFC, you know, for me especially, I'm like, there's not many guys out there with less experience than me. So I'm pumped anytime I can fight a guy who doesn't have that much cage experience. And the other thing is, yes, Tresean, you know, really technically he's 5-1. You know, he won 2 fights on Tough. They don't count those. I think it's ridiculous they don't count those fights, but whatever. He's 5-1, but every guy he's fought is every guy he's beat, I'll say, is a regional level fighter. You know, and that's not a knock on those guys. That's just a fact. You know, those guys aren't in the UFC, and not saying they won't be eventually, but it's going to be some time before any of those guys are in the UFC. And the first time he fought a guy of UFC caliber in Bryan Battle, you know, the fight was close, but I've gone back and watched the fight. I don't think the fight was that close. I just think Tresean had bigger moments. You know, I think he had like 3 big moments, and other than that, it was pretty much Bryan Battle the whole time. So, you know, I don't know. I feel like he's not that I feel like he's better than a regional fighter, but he's right on that level, right? He's not really shown me that when he's fighting a guy who can bring everything to the table, because one, he's never fought a guy that can do that, that he's going to be able to perform that well, you know. So we'll see. Maybe he'll shut me up and prove me wrong, but I'm definitely going to put it to the test.
Does this fight go the distance?
I do not think so, man. I think my pace is tough, man. I think it's really tough for guys, especially if you're scared of getting tired. which I feel he is. You know, maybe he's not, but I feel like in his fights, he's always low volume, and I feel like it's because he's worried about getting tired. So I don't, man. I think I get a late second, early third round finish. I just think my pace will be too much. I think the pace sets up the finish. And I'm sure he'll have his moments, man. He's a talented fighter. I'm sure he'll have good moments, but I just feel like I'm too tough. I'll come through it. You know, fighting is not even close to the hardest thing in my life. So I feel like it's something I love to do. So it's easy to not give up when I'm in there. You know, it's easy to push. And I feel like one thing, you know, since a little bit after my debut, I finally figured, everyone always talks about their why, you know, and it always sounds good. Like, I'm gonna be a world champ. That's your why. Everybody says that, right? I'm going to do it for my family but like, I really truly feel like I found my why after my debut. And that's just to make sure that if anything ever happens to me, that my daughter's going to be okay, you know, and that she's going to be set and everything's going to be all right. And, you know, that's powerful to have something that you really feel like this is what I'm fighting for. And it gives you a purpose other than I like doing this. And, you know, I feel like with that purpose, I'm just that much better and that much more powerful. So, yeah, I feel like I'll find the finish.
Very well said, man. Very, very well said. And always, Cody, I appreciate the time, my man. Again, Cody Brundage back in action at UFC Vegas 58 on July the 9th against Tresean Gore. Before I do let you go, bud, I want to give you the floor as always. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. And if you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to thank my team, Factory X, man. We really are a family. It's different out there. I wouldn't be where I am without them. I always say, and I want to always say this, is that I just feel like I'm so spoiled by my coaches and my teammates. They give me so much of their time and energy, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And so I just appreciate all of them. And then, yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Cody_Brundage_, and then on Twitter, Cody Brundage 185, to kind of keep up with what I'm doing throughout fight camp and fight week and stuff.